All right, today we're jumping into a viral story that is, well, it's one part family drama, one part labor dispute, and a whole lot of knowing your worth. This is the story of a Thanksgiving walkout that, trust me, serves up some serious food for thought. And it all kicks off with one absolutely brutal insult. Yeah, that's the sentence that started it all. Just imagine hearing that from a family member. And not just anywhere, but in your own professional kitchen, the very space where you create, where you work, where you provide value. This insult, it was the match that lit the entire Thanksgiving tradition on fire. So, what was really at stake here? I mean, that insult wasn't just thrown at a person. It was aimed at the creator of this, a $5,000 gourmet feast, a feast they were expected to whip up every single year completely for free. Okay, so to really get why the baker's response was so epic, you have to understand the sheer scale of what was being asked of them. This was not just, hey, can you bring a side dish? No, no. This was an entire culinary production. So let's just break this down. You've got a professional baker, right? Someone whose skill is their actual livelihood. And every year, they're on the hook for the entire Thanksgiving meal for the whole extended family. The cost to everyone else, a big fat zero. But the actual market value of their labor, the ingredients, the time, the expertise, about $5,000. This was just the norm, a massive unspoken annual gift. And that brings us to the exact moment everything imploded, the inciting incident, the comment that finally broke the camel's back, or in this case, the baker's incredible patience. The setting here is so important. This wasn't said over a casual family dinner. It was delivered in the baker's professional space. It was a direct attack, not just on them as a person, but on their craft, their entire profession, and the very source of the value the family was so dang eager to consume. And this just paints the perfect picture of the disconnect, doesn't it? You have this well-dressed relative, looking all polished and sophisticated, literally looking down on the very real, physical, sweaty labor required to produce the luxury they expected to just show up and enjoy. It's a classic case of wanting the fancy product, but holding the process in complete contempt. This exact dynamic, this weird, insulting behavior, it actually has a name. It's a concept that helps explain what on earth is going on here, and it's called the service paradox. So what is the service paradox? It's basically this. It's when people desperately want the high-end result. The gourmet meal, the perfect haircut, the custom-built table. But at the same time, they kind of look down on the person doing the actual work. They absolutely love the what, but they completely disrespect the who and the how. And you can see it laid out perfectly in this situation. On one hand, you have the family's demand, a professional $5,000 feast. And on the other hand, their disdain, calling that work peasant's labor and expecting it to cost nothing. It's this deep, fundamental contradiction. They put immense value on the final product, but assign absolutely zero value to the producer. So, faced with this incredible level of disrespect, what did the baker do? You're probably expecting a huge screaming match, right? A dramatic confrontation? Well, what actually happened was so much more powerful. There was no shouting, no tearful breakdown, no dramatic performance that would give the family something to push back against. The baker just refused to give them that satisfaction. There was no begging to be valued, no fighting to be understood. The baker just realized the game was rigged, and the only winning move was to stop playing. So instead of some big outward explosion, there was this quiet internal shift. A calm, final decision was made right there in the silence after that one single devastating insult. And here it is, the response. 3 simple, clean, and devastatingly effective steps. First, they blocked the family's numbers. Communication cut. Second, the Thanksgiving feast was, you guessed it, canceled. And third, the ultimate power move. All $5,000 worth of food was donated to people who would actually be grateful for it. No arguments, just action. So why was this non-reaction so incredibly effective? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental economic principle about where real power comes from. The service paradox is a symptom of this power imbalance. And what the baker did? That was the cure. Owning your labor. Now, the technical term for this is the means of production. I know, it sounds a little academic, but it's actually super simple. It's just all the stuff you need to create something of value. We're talking about the tools, the space, the raw materials, and most importantly, your own knowledge. So how does this apply to our baker? Well, think about it. Their means of production were their professional skills, their secret recipes, that's the knowledge. They had control of the kitchen, that's the factory. They managed the ingredients, that's the supply chain. And critically, they owned the final product. They controlled every single part of the value chain. And that right there is the key takeaway. The family could devalue the baker's labor with their words, sure, but they couldn't control it. Because the baker owned their own means of production, they had the ultimate leverage. They could just withdraw their labor and take its product with them, leaving the family with nothing but their empty plates and their empty words. Which kind of leaves us with this final thought. This story, it's not really about a turkey and some insults, is it? It's a masterclass in economic power. So it really makes you think, and it's worth asking yourself, when you feel like your work, your skill, your contribution is being taken for granted, where does your power really lie?